a metro line that dates back to 1896, and another line that is fully automated. Serving a city of roughly 1.7 million people, Budapest metro shows the development of metro construction in one system, while also showing the stages of Hungary's recent history. Let's take a look at the current network to set the stage. In our network description, we start off with line M1. This line runs between Vörösmarty and Mexikói út. Line M1 is the oldest one in the network and has 11 stations. Line M2 starts at Déli pályaudvar, then has an interchange with line M2 at Deák Ferenc before terminating at Őrsvezértere. Line M2 has also 11 stations. Line M3 starts at Újpest Központ, then has an interchange with line M1 and line M2 at Deák Ferenc before terminating at Kőbánya Kispest. Line M3 has 20 stations. Line M4 starts at Kelenföld vasútállomás. It intersects with line M3 at Kálvintér and terminates at Keleti pályaudvar, where it, besides the railway lines, also provides an interchange to line M2. Line M4 has 10 stations. Then let's take a look at some technical facts about this network. The network uses a 1435mm standard gauge. The length of the network is 39.4 kilometers. Line M1 uses 600 volts DC overhead wires, where the rest of the network uses a 825 volts DC third rail. All the single lines have their own depot, which means there are 4 depots across the network. Let's now take a look at how this network came to be what it is today. For the history of the metro in Budapest, we need to go back all the way to 1896. This was when the current line M1 was opened. In fact, this was the first underground railway that opened in continental Europe. As a new tram line was not approved on the surface of the boulevard this metro line now runs under, the engineer, inspired by London, came up with the idea of this underground. In 1894, the first digging began. Line M1 got the nickname Földalatti, which translates directly to underground. Also, it got the nickname Millennium Line, since its inauguration took place in a year that it was exactly 1000 years ago that the Hungarians conquered its territory. Line M1 became part of Budapest UNESCO Heritage Site, where the avenue above it and the metro line together are mentioned as elements of Budapest development. I quote, "From 1872, the avenue radically transformed the urban structure of Pest, together with the construction of the European continent's first underground railway beneath it in 1896. After that, a new line did not open for a while in Budapest, which is likely a result of turbulent times for the Hungarians. The fall of the Austro-Hungarian Empire during World War I and after World War II, Hungary became a de facto satellite state of the Soviet Union. Hungarians were some of the first to rise against their communist regime during the Hungarian Revolution of 1956. Only in 1970 a new metro line opened, the M2. In 1972 this line got to its current length. The 1970s were a good period for metros in Budapest. Line M1 was overhauled and extended to its current extent. Following that, the initial section of Line M3 was inaugurated in 1976. Line M3 was extended gradually and eventually became the longest line of the metro network. After the fall of communism, no new lines were built for a while, as Hungary was repositioning itself in the world. In 2006, a new line started construction. This will become Line M4, which would make use of the most modern features available at the time. It opened in 2014. Line M4 became the first fully automated line in Budapest, with driverless trains. Both the M2 and M3 received massive overhauls, with the latest modernization of Line M3 just being completed. The modernization of Line M2 saw introduction of new trains for this line, but for Line M3 they chose an overhaul for their trains. And that basically concludes the overview of the history of this metro network. This video about the Metro of Budapest is part of an already 21 episode long series of videos of transport systems. I would love to show you many more in the future. Therefore, it would be really helpful if you like my video and subscribe to my channel. Let's now take a look at the fleet. Given the different nature of Line M1, the line uses special trains adapted for the tunnel sizes. In the world of transport, this is called loading gauge. The trains used are the GANS MFAVs. which are produced in Budapest. There are 23 trains of this type, which can move up to 189 passengers each across 3 rather short cars. 21 of these trains were produced in the early 1970s, and the remaining 2 in 1987. A fun fact is that these trains were one of the first examples of low-floor vehicles. The second type in the fleet is the 8171 series of metro wagonmash, which is active on line M3. The trains of this type in Budapest are designated as a combination of 81717.2K for the control cars and 81714.2K for the trailer cars. This is the case since they have received an overhaul as part of the reconstruction of line M3. The trains consist of 6 cars and can carry around 1100 passengers. In the past you could also find this type on line M2, but nowadays they use the next type we are going to discuss. The Astel Metropolis is active on 2 lines in Budapest, on both line M2 and line M4. The slightly older trains are active on line M2, with the last one being delivered in 2013. On line M2, the trains consist of 5 cars and are still operated by a driver. The Metropolises on line M2 are designated AM5-M2. On line M4, however, we see the first driverless metro in Budapest. The 4-car Metropolises entered service at the opening of this brand new line in 2014. Initially, they used to have a driver for supervision, but as of 2016, the cabins were removed. So how many people are using these trains? The metro in Budapest is used by around 790,000 passengers per working day. By far the least used line is line M1, which despite its frequency only sees around 40,000 passengers per working day. This mostly is a result of its small vehicles and its relatively niche use. Line M2 sees many more passengers, with 210,000 passengers using this line per working day. Line M3 is by far the busiest line, with around 400,000 passengers per working day. And finally, we have line M4, which is less busy, with 140,000 passengers per working day. So what will the future bring? At the time of writing, it seems that no real extension plans are on the verge of becoming reality anytime soon. This does not mean that there are no plans at all. One of the most developed ideas is the potential creation of a new line. This will be line M5. This line would be created by a tunnel through the city center, while using existing suburban railways on the north and the south of the city. In the case of line M5, this would be suburban lines H5, H6 and H7. The proposal tells me that line M5 will have intersections with other lines at some key locations. It will meet line M3 at Leoter, then line M1 at Octagon, line M2 at Astoria, and finally it will also have an interchange with line M3 again and line M4 at Calvinter. This would make Calvinter the second 3-line interchange in Budapest. All in all, it is a similar idea to what has been done with the creation of the Elizabeth line in London, but then only on a smaller scale. However, to all of this has to be said that this line will not be around for a while. There are a couple of more extensions proposed here and there. Most notable is an extension to line M2, by simply integrating suburban lines H8 and H9, which would eliminate a transfer between the lines. Other extensions seem to be more vague and more far away. I think the Budapest metro is definitely interesting. It shows the history of a city, as well as of metro construction overall. I just hope that line M4 will live up to its full potential, as it was at times relatively quiet. Development in the areas of the metro line could potentially add more ridership. Besides that, I think that line M3's overhaul has been successful, making the metro the best way to get around. And finally, I think the integration of the metro with other forms of transport is pretty good. Transfers to trams, buses and other modes are fairly easy. On top of that, most of the modern metro lines are accessible to people with disabilities, which is a very good thing. And with that, we have reached the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed this video about the Metro of Budapest. If you'd like to see more of my work in the future, please remember to subscribe to my channel. And as always, thank you very much for watching.